down in this area here, I'm using a lighter green, but I have, again, more orange painted on the underpainting to support this. And what that indicates, again, is sunlight, warmth, and it sets up a wonderful vibration of color that indicates more of what's going on back there than if you just used this color right here. Now, the other thing you can do is, instead of using these colors, oranges and warm colors on the underneath, they can actually be used on top to indicate something. For instance, this color is a yellow. This is not a green. And this is painted down in this area to indicate warmth and sunlight hitting. I'm painting it and using it as a grass, but it is indicating the sunlight. And it comes across as reading as green because it's mixed in with a lot of other greens. But this is actually sunshine color here. And then over in this painting, in the shadow areas, the shadow is this dark, dark green here. But there is some reflected light coming down from the sky that's blue. And I'm actually using a bright turquoise on top of that dark green to indicate the sunlight coming down, reflected light, sorry, that's not sunlight, but the reflected light coming down into this dark green shadow. So in this case, I'm using blue, I'm using yellow to enliven these paintings. So it's very important that you learn how to see the other colors that are in a green landscape. Finally, I would like to move back to the palette of greens. And there are some greens you have to be very careful about using. And those are the greens that tend to run in the cool green and moving into the lighter cool greens. And I find that a lot of people, when they start to paint sunlight in a lighter green area, so they go and pick up pastels that have a lot of white in them. And instead of, this is not a sunlight color. If you wanted to paint sunlight in an area of lighter green, you need to pick up something that's got some warmth to it. So be very careful. They can be, there's a reason for these colors, but be very careful and think about them before you put them down. Just make sure you look at the actual landscape and ask yourself, do these colors really exist? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock down my tree trunks. And the reason why I did not go and draw that all the way out to the edge is that you see when you put down the alcohol, it actually spreads. And I don't want, you can see how it just spreads. Of course, the brush is wider, but I don't want to have dark edge all the way out. I want to be able to control that edge a little bit. Plus, if you think about a tree and you think about a trunk and a volume, it's not solid color all the way across. So if I get the dark in the middle and it gets lighter towards the edges, I'm already doing almost some finished mark work. And I can start to correct some of my drawing a little bit. You can pick up the alcohol and move it. If I wanted to, I could put that, start putting that branch in, some of these things that are going to be in the underneath. Try to keep the drips from not happening. You know, again, you can start putting in some little bit of branch stuff if you want. The main trunk's a little bit wider. You can see how you can just take that pastel and make it move with you for a bit. Pick it up and draw with it. I've got some light that's happening in this tree. I've got some bounce light. I've got some rim lighting that's hitting the back side of this tree. I've got a very thin pastel, and I'm going to catch the light that's coming on the back side of this, and I'm varying my line quality so that it's not a solid straight line. It's going in and out, so I'm pressing down to get it a stronger line, then bringing it up, varying my line quality through here, because the tree trunk is not the same throughout. And now it's popping off of this dark background. Same thing, I can run it through here. And a little bit down here. And because this is the back side of the tree, the light's coming from here, I'm not really catching it on this side. But what I am catching on this side is I'm getting some bounced light from these green trees. Right now this is very warm. This tree really doesn't have the relationship to the ground that it needs to have. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to throw some warmth underneath here. Let's see if this is a good... That helps. It's not quite the right hue. Actually, what it needs to be is it needs to be more green. So I put the warm down first. I'll put a little bit of green over it too. This may take, again, light hand. It may take a few times for you to catch that. But see how all of a sudden that's catching that green coming up? And this is the lightest area of that. So I may enhance it just a tad. So all of a sudden that tree branch is catching this. There's a little bit of that going on over here. Boy, I love that. Look at that. Isn't that just amazing?